It's like a Big Bang theory. So a Big Bang occurs and the world comes into existence. Bindu can also be described as Shunya or Purna. We say Shunya. In Buddhism they call it Shunya. In Hinduism we call it Purna. Both mean essentially the same thing. Okay, so nothingness and fullness are in a sense the same. Right? We know that we exist in 14 planes of existence are there. We have already crossed, the good news is we've already crossed the 6 lower planes of existence, which are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Patala, and all of these we have already crossed. And now we are existing in the Bhulokam. So the next ones where we have to evolve still further are the Bhuva, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. Today we will be talking all about the Sri Chakra. Okay, so among the ritual worship that is prescribed in Sri Vidya, the most important one is how to worship the Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra, Sri Yantra is the same thing. Okay, the Sri Chakra can be a flat form, a two-dimensional form, or it can also be in the form of a three-dimensional Meru. So it is also called as the king of the yantras, because among all the yantras it is said to be the most complex and the most symbolic. So the symbolism that it presents is of the highest order, and that is why it is called the Yantra Raja. So it is called the king of all yantras. Okay. So this, I think, is familiar to most people, and this is what we will be studying about. As we spoke yesterday, yantra is sacred geometry, and it is consisting of lines, squares, circles, petals, triangles, and the ultimate, the bindu. Okay. What does this signify? This represents the abode of cosmic awareness. It represents the genetic code of the cosmos. So it is like a blueprint of the cosmos, of our individual bodies, and also of the microcosm. So it represents things in so many different levels. We think of ourselves as life having a certain experience, but actually we are the prana shakti which is going through different levels of the cosmos, the body, and the microcosm. So we exist at all of these levels and we don't realize it. So the purpose of the Sri Chakra and the purpose of worshipping the Sri Chakra is to understand our relationship with the world. So this Sri Chakra shows us how this universe was created, what is our purpose and role in it, and how we can trace our steps back to the source. So this is the overall picture of what the Sri Chakra is presenting. It is also the abode of Shiva and Shakti. So as we discussed yesterday, the universal male and the universal female, or the divine female and the divine male principles that are united in this Sri Chakra. So we will discuss how this Sri Chakra was formed, what do all these different triangles mean or what do they indicate, and how we can practice a simple form of worship that will take us to higher and higher levels as we go along. First, we need to just understand the basic structure of the Sri Chakra. At the very center is the Bindu. Okay, you can see right at the center, very center, there is a dot. That is described as a Bindu. A Bindu is also like a drop, right? Surrounding that central Bindu is the first triangle. Okay, the first triangle over here. Bindu is the center, right at the center. Okay, that represents the seer. The one who is seeing, the seer, is at the Bindu. That is the dimensionless point form that is the Nirguna Brahman. Next comes the surrounding triangle. That represents the scene, the entire scene that we see, whatever we see in this world, whatever we experience, everything that is there. So the seer is within us and the scene is everything that is external to us. So those are the two things. And then the triangle is surrounded by a set of, central triangle is yellow in color. It is surrounded by a set of 8 triangles around it. That is again circumscribed by two sets of 10 triangles each. I don't have a laser pointer with me to show you, but if you count the triangles, the green triangles are 8 in number, and outside that, if you see, it is a brown.
Can you just stand and put your finger on that? I'll do that.
Yeah, so the 8 triangles are the green ones, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay? No, that is
this is the scene.
The seer is the bindu, the scene is the triangle, and from this seer and scene is the evolution of the world, the cosmos. How does that happen? The next set is the 8 triangles, 8 you finished. 8 triangles, and then after that comes the enclosure of 10 triangles. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Surrounding this, there is a further enclosure also of 10 triangles. This is the red triangles that you see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And surrounding that is a set of 14 triangles which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay? And then you have a circle. Outside of the circle, you have one enclosure with 8 petals. That's, you can just go in order, it's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And outside of that is an enclosure of 16 petals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And enclosing all of this is the square. Alright? The square has 4 entrances. And the 4 entrances represent the 4 Vedas. So the Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Rig, Yadur, Sama and Atharvana Veda. So all the 4 entrances represent ways or paths that are there in the Vedas which you can approach the ultimate reality. Yeah, I forgot to mention the 3 circles. So outside of this, it's not very clear, but you can see that there are 3 circles here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, they look like 2 bands, but there are 3 circles and 3 lines for the square. Alright, so this is the structure. Each of these enclosures is called an avarana. Avarana simply means an enclosure, something that is surrounded on all sides and it is closed. That is an enclosure. So the first, not the first, the 9th. Okay, when we count, the bindu is the final one, so that is counted as the 9th avarana. Or so right at the center is the bindu. So bindu, like we discussed, is the dimensionless point from which everything explodes, from which it's like a Big Bang theory. So a Big Bang occurs and the world comes into existence. Bindu can also be described as Shunya or Purna. We say Shunya. In Buddhism they call it Shunya. In Hinduism we call it Purna. Both mean essentially the same thing. Okay, so nothingness and fullness are in a sense the same. Okay, it is difficult to get around these things sometimes, but that is the idea. So the bindu represents the unborn universe. So God, or goddess, if you want to call, whichever way we want to say, because goddess also has the word God in it. So we can even say goddess, right? So it includes both the God and the goddess. So the Bindu, the god wished to see himself in different forms. So that is the reason for creation. He wished to see himself in a multitude of forms. That is the reason given for the initial spandana, the initial vibration which happens and which causes it to burst, and the first thing that gets created is the triangle. Why triangle? Now we are saying that the Bindu is Shunya, and in Shunya what is there is zero. The concept of zero was developed also in India by a scholar called Aryabhatta, and if you want to create something from nothing, how do you go about it? So the zero can also be said as an infinite pairs of opposite and equal value. So if you want the zero to remain zero, if you pull something out from it in a positive direction, you also need to pull something out from it in a negative direction. So you have both. So you have +1, -1, like mirror images, and then they become 0. +2, -2, it becomes 0. +5, -5, 0, and so on. So the entire process begins in this manner. So there are three things: the number itself, its mirror image, and the distance that is there between these two. For example, +1, -1, and the distance is 2. Correct? So this is a mathematical way of saying it. And a different way of saying it is the triad that is created is the seer, the seen, and the act of seeing. The knower, the known, and the act of knowing. So all the triputis that you can think of are represented in this triad. Okay, the central triad. So that is already the seen part of the universe. So from the Bindu, which is the unseen, and the 0 point, you come to the triangle. Okay. Here you have your Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Here you have space, time, and matter. Here you have your Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and the Kriya Shakti, and any other kind of triads that you can think of. All of this comes from here. So that is the first creation. So from the Bindu, the Trikona. These two have been created. The next Avarana, Trikona. I spoke about the Trikona already, I forgot to change it. Okay, so Bindu and the Trikona. Now the two of them interact to create, so here you can think of them as Shiva and Shakti. Now they are creating the next Avarana, which is the Vasukona. It is called Vasukona because there are 8 of them. 8 triangles. These represent the further sound vibrations or the nada that comes forth from this. So all of the Sanskrit letters, all the sound, everything comes from here. So we know that when Shiva danced, the Maheshwara Sutras which emanated from his Damaru, they are all the sound vibrations, and from there everything that we know of really comes forth. So whether it is, literature, whether it is the grammar of Panini, whether it is the music, whether it is dance, everything is said to have emanated from the Damaru of Shiva. So that is represented in this 7th Avarana, the Vasukona. Following that, you have the 6th Avarana, which is known as the Antardashara. Since you will have 2 sets of 10 triangles enclosures, so one is closer to the center, right? So it is called Antar. Antar means within. Antardashara. Here it is close to the cosmos. Here what is represented is the 5 elements and their 5 properties. So we know what are the 5 elements. All of us know: earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space. And their 5 properties. So the 5 elements and their 5 properties make up this Antardashara. Okay, it is related to the cosmos. The whole universe is made up of just these 5 elements. So that's why we also refer to them as the building blocks of the universe. So the universe is made of them, our body is made of them, and even right down to the tiniest cells in the body are also made up of these things. So it is at every level, the microcosmic, cosmic and macrocosmic, whichever way you see it, all of these things reflect the same truth at every level. So this is the Antardasharam. So this relates to the cosmos side. The next one is also a set of 10 triangles, and this is called the Bahirdasharam. So Bahir is outer. One is called inner 10, one is called the outer 10. So here what is represented is the 5 organs of knowledge and the 5 organs of action. So how we perceive the world through 5 senses and how we act upon the world. So world comes to us, the knowledge of the world comes to us through the 5 senses, and how we in turn act upon the world through various actions. We talk, right? What is Tvak, Chakshur, Jihva, Tvak, Chakshur, Shrotra, Jihva, Ghrana. So this is, yes, okay, and the organs of those, so the eyes, the ears, the nose, all of that, tongue and all that, and also the 5 organs of action. So what do we do with those things? We see, we touch, we smell, and also excretion, reproduction, yes, those are the ones I'm looking for. Yeah, so those 5 and the 5 organs of senses, these are represented in the outer 10. Okay, so you see how progressively we are coming to the level of where we exist in the present world. Yeah, the functions of those.
So it's
Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, yeah. That is in the Bahirdasharam. And the first one is the Pancha Bhutas and the Pancha Tanmatras. Okay, those are the Sanskrit words for these. Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Tanmatras are the first set of 10. Second set of 10 are the Pancha Jnanendriyas and the Pancha Karmendriyas. Okay, Indriya just means a faculty, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, next we come to the 14 triangled enclosure. So as we enumerated them, the 14. The 14 also has many symbolic representations. One is the 14 worlds, right? We know that we exist in 14 planes of existence are there. We have already crossed, the good news is we've already crossed the 6 lower planes of existence, which are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Patala, and all of these we have already crossed. And now we are existing in the Bhulokam. So the next ones where we have to evolve still further are the Bhuva, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. So those 7 levels of existence are still there waiting for us. So we need to buck up and start moving. Okay, so those are the 14 worlds that are represented here. That is one interpretation. Another interpretation is that we know that our body consists of 72,000 nadis, right? So the energy channels where the prana flows are said to be 72,000 in number. Of these, 108 are supposed to be most important. And out of the 108 also are the 14 nadis, which are even like the most important, right? And those, I don't know the names of all of those. They're there, we can find them. But the ones that we do know are the last 3, which are Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Okay, so those are represented here in the last 3 of the 14 triangled enclosure. So this now is up to the 14 triangles. Now you come to a circle. Here the evolution of this has happened up to a certain point. The circle represents the differentiation. Once you come out of the circle, then you have the 8 petaled enclosure. So from here, you start interacting with the world. So till now, you as an individual have been created. Now you start interacting with the world. The Ashtadala as well as the 16 petals, Shodashadala. These are just the Sanskrit names. Ashta means 8, Shodasha means 16. Okay, Dala means petal. So these are the enclosures, and outside of the 16 are again a set of 3 circles, right? And then finally you come down to the Bhupura or the square. So the square, the Bhupura, is where all of us exist now. This is the plane of our existence. Yeah, so from the Bindu, from the nothingness, God had to create something, and what he created was the triangle, the triad that emerged from the Bindu. Then the Bindu and the triangle, central triangle, they combined. So the Shunya and Ashunya, they combined, seer and the seen, they combined and created these states of the first set of vibrations, so which are described in the 8 triangles that are the innermost 8 triangles. Now the Bindu, the Trikona and this set of 8 triangles represent the pre-cosmic state, which means these are the conditions that are required for the creation of the cosmos. Okay, so that is like the seed. So unless you have the seed, the plant or the tree or whatever cannot emerge. So these 3, the first 3 represent the seed. So that is the seed potential, and that is also called as the Bala Yantram. The Bala, the mantra that you received, you chanted in the morning, Aim Kleem Sauh, Sauh Kleem Aim. So that mantra, so that represents, so Bala is said to be the child of Lalita, the supreme goddess Lalita's child. So it is just a metaphor for saying that first it is Bala who emerges, and then the empress, the Lalita Mahatripura Sundari, emerges. So this, the seed, and also in the Swadhisthana Chakra, those of you who know, and we will also be doing that, the seed letters that are contained in the chakra are starting from Ba. Ba, Bha, Ma, Ya, Ra and La. Right? So Ba to La. If you join them, Bala. So that's how the name has also come. So Bala is Bindu, Trikona and Ashtakona. So these 3 together form the Bala Yantram. So that is the seed from which the cosmos is going to evolve. So from there, now you come to the Antardasharam and the Bahirdasharam. So the various things that are needed before the worlds themselves can be created. So what are they created out of? They are created of the 4 sets of 5, which are Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Tanmatras, Pancha Jnanendriyas and Pancha Karmendriyas. So those are the 20. So 10 plus 10, 20. Then the creation of the worlds, the 14 worlds and all the nadis, and the 14 most important of the nadis are also depicted there. And of course the most important of all of them are Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Okay, so those are represented in this enclosure. Here now the world is created. When you come outside of that central circle, you experience yourself as an individual. Okay, apart from the cosmos, you think I am different. What I see around me is different. When you started your journey from the Bindu, everything was one, everything was together. But slowly as it came down, you now start feeling, I am a completely separate person. I am an individual in my own right, my body, my thoughts, my actions, my everything. The key word is I. Okay? I. So that is where this predominance of I starts happening. So the interactions with the world begin at the Ashtadala and also at the Shodashadala. Outside of that are 3 circles. We will talk about that a little later. And then you have the square, which also has 3 lines. So these are the 9 avanas. We count them from the square because that is where our journey begins. Our journey begins from where we are. We cannot start from where we are not. So we have to start from where we are. So we go step by step by step by step. We are retracing the journey. Okay. These are some examples of Merus. This one and that one are Merus. Here this is based on the tortoise, Kurma Meru. And this is a yantra. So this is the 2-dimensional form. And you can see that these are three-dimensional. It is not exactly, it's more or less an aerial view, but still you can see that it is a three-dimensional figure. Some other examples of the Sri Yantra. These are famous ones, the Shivalinga. So, the concept of the Shivalinga and the Yoni is the same, really. What is the Shivalinga? It is the lingam, and it is the Yoni that is surrounding it that represents Shakti. So, the Shiva and the Shakti. And when you see the Yoni also, the Yoni represents the Shakti and the clitoris represents the Shiva there. So there is a representation of both Shiva and Shakti, whether you are looking at the lingam or whether you're looking at the Yoni. Okay. So only thing is which one is being given the predominant status there. So that is the only difference. So these are famous ones. This has been inscribed on the Shivalinga, Chintamani Shiva, Anegundi, and this one is at the Ekambareshwar temple in Kanchipuram. Okay. So those are just some famous representations. There is also a direct correlation between the Sri Chakra and our human body, and is also it is supposed to be Sri Chakra in space, and that is called a Vyat Chakra. So that is also there. So it exists at various levels, and like I was telling earlier, everywhere Shiva and Shakti are together, everywhere. It just depends on you whether you want to focus on the Shiva or you want to focus on the Shakti. So even Shiva is supposed to be a column of light, right? Apatala navastalanda bhuvanam brahmanda nabhispurat jyotis patika mauli vilasat kantamrutai. So that is the description of Shiva. The Dhyana Shlokam for Shiva goes like that. So it is a pillar of light. So if you think of that pillar of light coming right from the bowels of the earth right into the heavens and the skies and the Antariksh and the highest reaches of the cosmos, then you have the Shakti in all the different chakras. So at Muladhara they are connected, at Swadhisthana they are connected, at Manipura they are connected, at Anahata, all of the chakras they are connected. Wherever it is, you see the Shiva and Shakti are together. So one implies consciousness, one implies awareness. So pure consciousness which is not even aware of itself is Shiva. Once the awareness comes that I am this, then that represents the Shakti. So this consciousness and awareness are something that go together always. One implies the other. You cannot have one without the other. It's like a circle and a center. If there is a circle, there must be a center, right? And from the center, you can always draw the circle. You can always get infer circle can be drawn. So the circle and the center. So center represents Shiva, circle represents Shakti. Okay, so just like in this, it is shown as a triangle. If a triangle is spinning, what does it become? It becomes a circle, right? So the center and the circle is Shiva and Shakti again. So again, when you look at the world, being yourself, being the individual, you are looking at the world outside, then you are Shakti you are Shiva looking at everything. And the other way is when you become everything and you are looking at yourself through everybody's eyes. That is a concept where you have identified yourself with the world and you are looking at yourself through that lens. Normal vision is we are sitting inside ourselves and we are looking at the world. So we will relate the Sri Chakra. The Sri Chakra contains many goddesses within it. Many yoginis are contained within the Sri Chakra. Okay, so these are all the attendants of the goddess. They are all situated at key points within the yantra, and they are all called yoginis. And we will see what those are. So when we start our spiritual journey in the Sri Vidya tradition, we start from the square, from the Bhupura, where we are all existing now, and then we go. Now we go to the Bhupura. That's where we start from. Okay, so we are here. So this represents the Bhupura, the earth as we know it. And here we are pulled in different directions. The pulls and pushes that we experience in life. All the likes, dislikes, the different kinds of emotions everything is situated here. So this outer square consists of 28 yoginis. Okay, these are all called Prakata Yogini. Okay, because these are visible to you, to me, to her, to anybody. These are all visible because it represents the waking state of our life. So the Bhupura represents waking state. So we are awake. At least we think we are awake, but we are awake, and this is what we can see, and this is what all of us can see. So if I say a mountain, you can also see the mountain, right? So that is the Bhupura. In this there are 28 yoginis, of which 10 are called the Siddhis. Siddhis are achievements or attainments which are special. So they are like extra sensory kind of things. So they are called as Anima Siddhi, Laghima Siddhi. So the power to become like an atom, the power to become a gigantic thing. So and then the power to be very, very light or very, very heavy. So these are termed as attainments. Then you also have within this square, and we will see when we learn the chant that we are going to teach you later in this session, we will see where exactly these deities, these yoginis are situated. So you have the 8 matrukas, okay, which maybe you are familiar with, the Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Mahendri and Chamunda. So these 8 matrukas are also contained in this square. And then you have what are known as Mudra Shaktis. So 10 Mudra Shaktis which are also contained in this, and with the help of those Mudra Shaktis we can overcome these passions, these 8 passions of lust, greed, anger, possessiveness, delusion and jealousy. Okay, all of these things can be overcome with the help of those siddhis, the matrukas, Mudra Shaktis. Mudra Shaktis. So in this enclosure itself you have 28 yoginis, and they are called Prakata Yoginis. Prakata means it is visible, it is open. And the chakra itself is called the Trailokya Mohana Chakra. Okay, these are the technical terms. See, in the chant you will hear these terms. So it's just a good idea to kind of start getting introduced to these terms. So this is called the Trailokya Mohana Chakra, which is the enchantment of the 3 worlds. So the beauty, the enchantment, the multitude of infinite forms and names that you see all around us, that is represented in this first avarana, first enclosure. Okay, then to go back, yeah. Before that, yeah, the 3 lines that you see, okay, there are 3 lines forming this square enclosure. They represent the sattva, rajas and tamas. So we know what those are. Sattva is purity, rajas is activity, and tamas is lethargy. So those 3 are also represented by the 3 lines there. And the 3 circles that are there represent the 3 granthis of Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi and Rudra Granthi, which are supposed to be, they are visualized as knots or blocks within our chakras, and they are our identification with the body is Brahma Granthi, identification with the mind is Vishnu Granthi, and identification of ego, the ego structure that we have created for ourselves, that is the 3rd Granthi, the Rudra Granthi. So these 3 Granthis are represented in the 3 lines over here.
Vishnu Granthi is at the height level.
Yeah, it is 2 and 2. They, Mooladhara and Swadhisthana represent the Brahma Granthi, then Manipura and Anahata, Vishnu Granthi, and
2 and 2.
yes, 2 each. That represents the Rudra Granthi. Yeah. So those are the 3 lines. Okay. Then we come to the 16. These are are called as the 16 powers of attraction. So in the universe there are so many things around us, and we bring these things to ourselves, we attract these things to ourselves through our senses. So whether it is referring to the senses, it is referring also to, again, the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Is it confusing? You want to say it in English, you remember Sanskrit, when you want to say it Sanskrit, then the English words come. Yeah, so all of those, and then things like memory, all of these are also situated in this chakra. This represents the dreaming state. The waking state, then the dreaming state. So here it is called Gupta Yogini, the name of the Yogini. All of these are called the Gupta Yoginis. The Gupta Yoginis is, in my dreams, what I see, you don't see the same thing, right? You have a different dream, I have a different dream. Or I may not have a dream, which is what happens to me. I don't have dreams much. So, yeah, so that is individual to the person who is having the dream. So it is not like the Prakata Yogini. So where everything is visible, seen to everybody. That is, there. This is the Gupta Yogini. So as we keep going through and through, it gets subtler and subtler and subtler. Okay. So this is now the dreaming state.
How many Gupta Yoginis?
16.
And they're female only.
Yes, all of these are female. All of them are yoginis. All of them are attendants of the mother. Yesterday when we spoke, I told you that she has 64 crores of yoginis who attend on her. Okay, and within the Sri Chakra, of course, these are, but I guess there are many more which are not explicitly chanted out or something like that. The names and all, I don't know where they are, but 64 crores, I don't know where the names are, but definitely where we can enumerate all the names of these yoginis, there is a simple chant which we will be learning. It is called the Khadgamala Stotram. So we will be learning that and how to, interact with all of these deities. So that is the chant, and it is a very simple and powerful way of energizing the yantra and energizing yourself through the same chant. So it is an interactive thing. So as you chant each of the Devi's names, you receive the energy and abundance from her. So here the 8-petaled enclosure. First was Trailokya Mohana Chakra, then what is the next chakra? Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra. So that is the earlier one is the one that fulfills all your desires. Okay, so you see the different names that they are, how they are indicating to us in what is the role that they play in our lives. So this one, Sarva Sanshobhana Chakra. These represent the 8 forms of abundance. They all have names like Ananga Kusuma, Ananga Mekhala, Ananga Madana, Ananga Madanatura, all referring to Ananga, where Ananga refers to Manvadha. And I know I'm going to names where you're not familiar at all, but believe me, you will get familiar with them. Ananga is also Manmadha, and Manmadha is the son of Lakshmi. Now you know who Lakshmi is, right? She is abundance, and this chakra represents all the 8 forms of abundance. Okay, and here it is representing also the sleeping state. So the waking state was the square, dreaming state, and this is the sleeping state.
Are these yoginis called something?
Yes, they are called the Gupta Tara yoginis, the more secret yoginis, the more concealed. Yeah.
So what's the difference
So-
between dreaming state and sleeping state?
What-
You're still sleeping, but you are not dreaming, and you just find out.
Yes, the sleeping state is that when you wake up, you know that you are the same person who has slept. Right? You come back to the same awareness. So that is really the only difference between death and sleep. When you die, you don't come back to the same awareness. But when you sleep, every night you sleep and you get up, you're coming back to the exact same awareness. You know what has happened. Maybe you can even remember your dreams. You can, there are so many things that can happen. You can also go into the dream state and kind of condition the mind in a certain way. There are many, many things that can be done even in dream states or in hypnotic states. All of these things we are aware. Okay, the next avarana is peru. When we chant it, everything comes like a clockwork, but Sarvar, no, not Sarvardha, this is different. Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakra. This chakra is called. So each of these is called a chakra. Okay, so chakra just means something that is round, right? And the Sri Chakra is also called as the circle of grace. Okay? Something that contains within it the abundance of the cosmos is contained within it. So it is called also the circle of grace. Okay. So here now we come to Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakra. And who is the yogini here? Sampradaya yogini. She is called a traditional yogini.
Sarva Saubhagyadayaka means the one who grants us all that is auspicious. Saubhagya. So that is the one who grants us all that is auspicious. So it's one yogini.
No, all of them are called the same yogini. They are all Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakra, but what is the yogini? Sampradaya yoginis. Yeah. Each one is called a Sampradaya yogini, a traditional yogini. All of them, 14 are called. Yeah. Yeah. We'll do all the names of these individual deities.
3 times you will do this entire exercise for you to imprint on your brain.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next one is the Bahir Dasharam, and this is the Sarvardha Sadhaka Chakra. So this is the one, again, all material desires can be fulfilled by these yoginis sitting over here. Sarvardha Sadhaka Chakra and Kulottirna Yogini. So Kulottirna is the one who is now trying to rise above. She is not in any way bound by the earlier limited ones. So the dreaming state, waking state, all of this, she is not bound by those. She is now beginning to rise above. Kula Uttirna, she is rising and moving towards the highest state. So they are all called Kula Uttirna, Kulottirna Devatas. What is the yogini? Kulottirna yoginis. And the chakra is Sarvardha Sadhaka Chakra. Okay. Okay. Then the 6th one is Antardasharam, and here this is Nigarbha Yogini. So this is supposed to be, these yoginis are supposed to be the ones who protect the child in the womb. Garbha is a womb, and Nigarbha yoginis are the ones who protect the child in the womb. So what is this child that they are talking about over here? Here, there are 2 things. When we are born, when the individual is born, we are coming from the bindu to the square. That is the birth process that we have come through. Now, when we are going in the reverse process, what is being birthed is the cosmic awareness. So, the ultimate reality is being birthed. So, this yogini is the one who is taking care of making sure that it is protected. Sarva Rakshakara Chakra. This chakra is also called Sarva Rakshakara Chakra, protection. For the Nigarbha yoginis are the one who do this protection. Then we come to the 7th avarana, which represents all the sounds of the Sanskrit alphabet. They are all contained within this chakra. So they are represented in the Sri Chakra in 2 places. One is in this avarana here, and one is also in the 16 here, the 16 petaled enclosure. We have 16 vowels, and we know that we cannot produce any sound without a vowel. So that is the importance of the vowels. The 16 petals represent the 16 vowels. They also represent the 16 phases of the moon. So it represents time in that sense, from the new moon to the full moon. So all of those are represented. They are called as the Nitya Devis. So they are there, always they are there. But we see only one phase at a time. So if today is Panchami, which is yesterday when the day we started was Panchami, the 5th day. The next day you see the 6th day moon. But that doesn't mean the 5th day moon doesn't exist. They are all there, but we see only one aspect of it at a time. So the 16 phases of the moon are shown there, as well as the 16 vowels are represented there, which in turn are necessary for production of sound. So sound cannot come without any vowels. Okay, so in here you have all the vowels represented. You have 8 triangles, and the first triangle contains all the vowels within this set. Okay, the second one contains ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. Then cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. Ya, ra, la, va. Sha, sha, sa, ha, la, cha. So all of those letters are represented over here. And in our body, this is represented in the Vishuddhi Chakra. So this is speech, communication, everything happens from here, from the throat center. And the throat center is where all the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet are inscribed. So it represents Saraswati, the goddess Saraswati, because everything happens, speech can only happen with her, all the letters are mapped onto the body of Saraswati. Okay, so that is about this one. Yeah, this is also called as the Sarva Roga Hara Chakra. It is one that eliminates all diseases. And the way to eliminate diseases is by not identifying yourself with this limited body, but learning to understand that you are the entire cosmos. So if you can identify yourself with the entire cosmos and look at yourself from the external, then that is the way you can minimize or eliminate diseases. Okay, so she is called Sarva Roghara Chakra, and she is also called Rahasya Yogini. So this is now the secret yogini. Now we come to the next one, that is the central triangle. She is called the Ati Rahasya Yogini. So one step even more secret. Okay, even more secret than the previous one. No, highest is coming. The Bindu is the highest. What was the Sarva Roghara Chakra? This is Sarva Siddhi Prada Chakra. So this is the chakra which gives all attainments. So you can achieve anything with this central triangle. And then we come back again to the Bindu, to merge into the Bindu. This is called the Sarva Anandamaya Chakra. And the yogini is Para Parati Rahasya Yogini. She is like the most secret. So it sounds, very childlike, secret, most secret and all that. But these are the names given because it is very difficult to reach up to that stage. So it takes a lot of effort, lot of practice to be able to interact with all of these yoginis and to understand and, progress at each stage. So each of these triangles represents a yoni. Okay. Then what is a yoni? It is a source or it is a gateway. It is moving through the gateway. So if there is an entrance, you can think of it as an entrance. You're moving from one side of the entrance to the other. So you are moving from one state of understanding to a higher state of understanding. So you are progressing through that yoni. The yoni is the source, but it is also a gateway to higher understanding. So going from one place to another place. So understanding, and you keep knowing more and more about what it is. So as you keep practicing, you start understanding that, okay, this is what this means. And you start making the connections, you start making associations and understanding what it is all about. So the first 3, like I said, shows the pre-cosmic state. The next 3 shows the cosmos, and the final 3 shows the individual. So the journey from the Bindu to the square represents Aham, creation of the individual. Okay, and the reverse journey represents Maha, which is reverse. So it's, some things fit in very nicely. Aham, and then you reverse the word, it becomes Maha. So Maha means the ultimate, or the Mahat Tattvam is the ultimate highest principle. So from the small limited I that we are, we become the entire cosmos. So either we become through that, go right back up to the center through these different enclosures, through these different avarnas, which are again related to centers within our body. So all the chakras that we are talking about. The square represents our feet. Okay, then the 16 petaled one represents the legs and the thighs. Mooladhara chakra is the 8 petaled lotus. 14 petaled represents the Swadhisthana chakra. The 10 and the 10, outer and inner, are the Manipura and the Anahata. Vishuddhi is 8. In our body, see the number varies. In our body, we have 8 petals at the Vishuddhi chakra, but in the Sri chakra, it is represented by 8 triangles. Then the Trikona at the Agnya chakra, and then the Bindu at the Sahasrara. Okay, so this is how the progression goes. So also Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya. So first 3 Srishti, then Sthiti. First 3 we go. This is we are already created, right? So this part we are created, so we are now moving back. This is Srishti. Then Sthiti, the maintenance. And then the reabsorption into the Bindu, Laya. So Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. These are also depicted in this. So this is that Aim. So this is what we were talking about. So Aim, Kleem, Sauh, Sauh, Kleem, Aim. Aim, Kleem, Sauh, Sauh, Kleem, Aim. So the mantra, and along with the visualization, when you do it, then you get, get to understand what is the purpose of your life, why you are here. All of these questions can be answered. Then there are 2 things regarding the Bindu and the Trikona. There are 2, yesterday we talked about the Panchakrutyas, the 5 aspects of creation, which are Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, and one is called Tirodhana, one is called Anugraha, right? So there are 2 powers. One is called Shreem and one is called Hreem. So from the Bindu, when the Bindu becomes the triangle, it is Maya. So that is the Hreem. And when the triangle implodes back into the Bindu, it is called Anugraha or the Shreem. So that can only happen by the grace of the ultimate. By your own efforts, you can raise your consciousness up to a certain level, up to the Agnya chakra. But from the Agnya chakra to the Bindu, you can only be led by a guru. This is what the scriptures say. Okay, so that is why the guru is worshipped also at the Agnya chakra. He has to give the command. Agnya means command. It also means Agnya. So up to this point, this is all unknown territory, right? So the guru is the one who will take you through this unknown territory and leads you to the divine. So this Shreem and the Hreem are very important operators. One is the Tirodhana, which creates the Maya and then eventually creates the whole universe. And the Shreem is the one that again takes you back to the center. So when you are created as an individual, the Aham, what happens? You lose your connection. You don't, it is like a death to the cosmic consciousness. And when you are going back, the dissolution, it is like a death to the body, but you are being born into the cosmic awareness. So it is a reverse of what normally happens, right? So there are many cultures in the world which actually celebrate a death, and they cry when the new baby is born, because the cycle is repeating. So if you die, you are actually merging back into the cosmic awareness. So that is a cause for celebration and not for crying. And when the reverse happens, when the baby is born, it has to go through the whole thing again. And we don't know how many more of such these things have to go. So this is, what is said. And in fact, I don't know the words of the song properly, but maybe somebody knows here. Kailash Kher has written a beautiful song. This song was written when his father passed away. So it is describing the scene of death from the cosmic plane, as if the divine soul is waiting for this Jivatma, the individual soul has passed away. So, the heavens are getting ready for receiving this individual soul. Mati Rangavu, that, do you know the song? No? Aaj mere piya ghar avenge. So today my beloved is coming home. So that is what the song says. So they're getting the courtyard ready, and this thing, they're all preparing to receive this divine soul back into the thing. So you're not looking at it from the perspective of the world. The song is looking at it from the perspective of the cosmos, and how when the soul is returning, the Jivatma, the individual soul is returning back, how much celebration happens over there. So it's a very beautiful song, and in the time that it was written, I mean, he wrote it when his father passed away, it seems. So it was a beautiful song, yeah. Okay, so broadly, this is what the Sri Chakra is all about, okay? And we want to leave you with simple practices that you can follow. So like I said, Sri Vidya is all about the sadhana that you do with it. It's not just the information, it is how we use that information to gain experience, and how that experience will lead to wisdom. So the practices are important, and the practices are simple. After listening to all this, you may think this is such a big confusion, and I don't know what I have understood or what it is. That the nature of philosophy and spirituality is that way. When you hear it, it may seem simple. When you try to express it again, you find you are lost. You don't know. So as you can experience it for yourself, then you will be able to actually put things into perspective and work with the things. So one of the simplest chants is what we are going to learn now. That is called the Khadgamala Stotram. Okay. There's one important point that I didn't mention. It's very intriguing because, if you see, it starts with 1, 3, 8, 10, 10, 14. And this is the exact sequence of configuration in the electron shells that are surrounding the atoms. So if you see the magnitude of what a Sri Chakra is, it cannot just be a coincidence. So it is that,
Because a lot of noise.
yeah, the sequence of numbers, the 1, 3, 8, 10, 10 and 14 is replicated in the structure of the atom, in the electron shells that are there around. Yeah. So it is, as you can see so many connections, so much symbolism is there within this yantra. So it's a really nice thing, because like we said, it's at every level. So the microcosmic and microcosmic and the cosmic, the individual, the super cosmos, everything. So everything is following the same principles, no matter which level you are looking at, they are all following the same principles. Okay, everybody can chant. You have the material with you, right?
Laghima Siddhe,
Laghima Siddhe,
Mahima Siddhe, Ishitva Siddhe, Pashitva Siddhe, Prakamya Siddhe, Bhukti Siddhe, Ichha Siddhe, Prapti Siddhe, Sarva Kama Siddhe. So these are the 10 siddhis. Okay. This is still in the outermost square. The next line is the 8 matrikas, Ashtamatrikas. Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Mahendri, Chamunda, Mahalakshmi. Okay, these are the 8 matrikas or Ashtamatrikas. So 10 plus 8. And then we have the 10 Mudra Shaktis. Mudras are simply said, you can call them as hand gestures. So these are hand gestures which are 10 in number. Okay. Sarva Sanshobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarvakarshini, Sarva Vashankari, Sarvormadini, Sarva Mahakushe, Sarva Kechari, Sarva Bije, Sarva Yoni, Sarva Trikhande. Okay. And now since we have completed all these 28, you see that Trailokya Mohana Chakra Swami. So this entire chakra, this the Avarana, which is the square enclosure, that is called the Trailokya Mohana Chakra. And the yoginis therein that we just now recited the names of are the Prakata yoginis, the ones that are visible. Okay, are visible to everyone. Next we go to the 16 petal enclosure, which is the names of these devatas are all the Akarshana devatas. So Akarshini you can see at the end of each of these names. Kama Karshini, Buddhya Karshini, Ahankara Karshini, Shabda Karshini, Sparsha Karshini, Rupa Karshini, Rasa Karshini, Gandha Karshini, Chitta Karshini, Dhairya Karshini, Smritya Karshini, Nama Karshini, Bija Karshini, Atma Karshini, Amrita Karshini, Sarira Karshini. So these are the 16 Akarshana devatas who are present in the 16 petal lotus, and this is called the Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra Swami. This is called the Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra, the one where all the desires get fulfilled, and these are all the 16 Gupta yoginis. We will again see the places in the short system. Let us again recall it. Next is the 8 petal enclosure. Okay, as we are saying, the Ananga devatas are there. So Ananga Kusume, Ananga Mekade, Ananga Madane, Ananga Madanature, Ananga Reke, Ananga Begini, Ananga Ankushe, Ananga Malini. So these are the 8 Ananga devatas present in the 8 petal lotus, and this is the Sarva Sanshobhana Chakra. And these are all called the Guptatara yoginis. Okay. Next we come to the 14 triangles. Sarva Sanshobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarva Karshini, Sarva Radini, Sarva Sammohini, Sarva Stambhini, Sarva Jrumbhini, Sarva Vashankari, Sarva Ranjini, Sarvormadini, Sarvarthasadini, Sarva Sampatti Purani, Sarva Mantramayi, Sarva Dvandva Kshayankari, so these are all the 14 devatas present in the 14 corner triangles. And this is the Sarva Saubhagya Dayaka Chakra, the chakra that grants us all auspiciousness. And all these yogis are called the Sampradaya yogis. Okay. Next we move to the 2 sets of the 10 triangles. Sarva Siddhi Prade, Sarva Sampat Prade, Sarva Priyankari, Sarva Mangala Karini, Sarva Kama Prade, Sarva Dukha Vimochani, Sarva Mrityu Prashamani, Sarva Vigna Nivarini, Sarvanga Sundari, Sarvartha Sadhana Chakra, and these are the Kulotirna yoginis. Then we come to the inner set of 10. Sarvajne,
Sarvajne,
Sarvashakte,
Sarvashakte,
Sarva Aishwarya Pradayini,
Sarva Aishwarya Pradayini,
Sarva Jnanamayi,
Sarva Jnanamayi,
Sarva Vyadhi Vinashini,
Sarva Vyadhi Vinashini,
Sarvadhara Swarupe,
Sarvadhara Swarupe,
Sarva Papa
Sarva Bhavahare,
Sarva Anandamayi,
Sarva Anandamayi,
Sarva Raksha Swarupini,
Sarva Raksha Swarupini,
Sarvetsita
Sarvesita
Paraprade.
Palaprade.
So these are the inner 10, and this is the Sarva Rakshakara Chakra, which is the one that protects, the chakra that protects us. And the yoginis are the Nigarma yoginis. Then we come to the, we are going towards the internal, outer pillar, right? And these are the set of 8. Which are the 8 triangles? Vashini,
Vashini,
Kameshwari,
Kameshwari,
Modini,
Modini,
Vipale,
Vipale,
Arune,
Arune,
Jayini,
Jayini,
Sarveshwari,
Sarveshwari,
Kaulini.
Kaulini,
These are the 8. And this is the Sarva Rogahara Chakra. And these are all the Rahasya yoginis. Then you have these 4, which are the things that Devi holds in her hands. Banini,
Banini,
Chapini,
Shapini,
Pashini,
Pashini,
and Ankushini.
Ankushini.
So Banini is the one who holds the bow of arrows. Then Chapini.
This is referring to the deity's form. So we didn't discuss it yesterday, but she has 4 hands, and in the front 2 hands she has, in the right hand, in her right hand, she has 5 flowery arrows. And in her left hand she has a bow which is made out of sugarcane. Okay, and these 2 hands are kept separately, indicating that you should keep the sensory perceptions. These are again the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the 5 flowery arrows. Keep it away from the mind. So dissociate yourself in that manner. Okay, those 2 hands. And then the 2 hands at the back, one represents Pasham, which is attachment, and one represents Ankusham, which is repulsion. So these are 2 major forces, attraction and repulsion. Okay, and again the balance. If you think of the solar system, if only the attractive force was there, everything would collapse to a point because everything is attracted back to the center. But, and in reversely, if there is only the force of repulsion, then all the things move so far apart that you cannot, there is no cohesiveness at all. So the right balance between the attractive forces and the repulsive forces, that is what is shown by her. So a simple example again, the earth. Life exists on the earth. If you go close to the sun, you are burnt completely and you are merged into the sun. And if you are so far away, you have no connection with anything. So the right balance between these things. So that is what she shows in those 2 hands. Okay, so the attractive power is called Shyama. The 2 deities who are her attendants, her immediate attendants. One is called Shyama and one is called Varahi. So one is, the attractive force is called Shyama and the force of repulsion is called Varahi. They are technical words, but as you progress, you will come to those things. Okay, so all of them have deep symbolism. That is the thing. So these 4 weapons, they are called as weapons. So Banini, Banini is the right hand with the arrows, Chapini, then Pashini and Ankushini. So these 2 hands. Okay.
And then we come to the innermost triangle, where you have 3 vertices of the triangle. The one vertex which is pointing towards us, Mahakameshwari,
Mahakameshwari,
Mahavajreshwari,
Mahavajreshwari,
and Mahabhagamalini.
Mahabhagamalini.
And this is the Sarva Siddhi Prada Chakra. And these are the Ati Rahasya yoginis. And at the next is at the Bindu, Sri Sri Mahabhattarike,
Shri Shri Mahabhattarike,
Sarva Anandamaya Chakra Swamini,
Sarva Anandamaya Chakra Swami,
Parapara Rahasya Yogini.
Parapara Rahasya Yogini.
And then thereafter in the Stotra actually have other names of the deity. Tripureshwari, and these are all the chakras from this. But this is good for now. And in the PDF that we will be sharing with you, which is like I think almost 160 pages or something like that, you will have not just this but also the meanings of each one of these, also the chakras and everything. So don't worry about all of this deep Sanskrit, and I don't understand why am I chanting, what am I chanting, and all of that. We get to that.
अस्य श्री शुद्धशक्तिमाला महामन्त्रस्य उपस्थेन्द्रियाधिष्ठायी वरुणादित्य ऋषिः दैवी गायत्री छन्दः सात्विक ककार भट्टारक पीठस्थित श्रीमत्कामेश्वराङ्कनिलय श्रीमत्कामेश्वरी देवता ऐं बीजं क्लीं शक्तिः सौः कीलकम् श्रीदेवी प्रीत्यर्थे खड्गसिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोगः ऐं अङ्गुष्ठाभ्यां नमः क्लीं तर्जनीभ्यां नमः सौः मध्यमाभ्यां नमः सौः अनामिकाभ्यां नमः क्लीं कनिष्ठिकाभ्यां नमः ऐं करतलकरपृष्ठाभ्यां नमः ऐं हृदयाय नमः क्लीं शिरसे स्वाहा सौः शिखाय वषट् सौः कवचाय हुं क्लीं नेत्रत्रयाय वोषट् ऐं अस्त्राय फट् भूः भुवः सुवः ॐ दिग्बन्धः ध्यानम् तादृशं खड्गमाप्नोति येन हस्तस्थितेन वै अष्टादशमहाद्वीप सम्राट् भोक्ता भविष्यति आरक्ताभां त्रिनेत्राम् अरुणिमवसनाम् रत्नताटङ्करम्याम् हस्तां भोजैः सपाशाङ्कुशमदनधनुस्तायके विस्फुरन्तीम् आपीनोत्तुङ्ग वक्षोरुह कलशलुषत्तारहारोज्ज्वलाङ्गीम् ध्यायेत् अम्भोरस्ताम् अरुणिमवसनाम् ईश्वरीम् ईश्वराणाम् लं पृथिव्यात्मिकायै सत्सङ्गं गन्धं परिकल्पयामि हम आकाशात्मिकायै इन्द्रियनिग्रहं पुष्पं पूजयामि यं वायुवात्मिकायै ऐषर्वग्विसर्जनं धूपम् आघ्रापयामि रं वह्न्यात्मिकायै चित्कला स्वस्वरूपदीपम् उज्ज्वलयामि वम् अमृतत्वात्मिकायै वसुधादिशिवावसानम् शिवशक्तिस्थावरस्य स्वरूप आनन्दामृतनैवेद्यं निवेदयामि सम्मतत्वात्मिकायै मनोरयस्वरूप आनन्दकर्पूरनीराजनं सन्दर्शयामि उपनिषद्वाक्यसरबलं ताम्बूलं समर्पयामि अनया मया कृतेन यावच्चित्ते पंचोपचारपूजया भगवती श्रीबालात्रिपुरसुन्दरी महाकामेश्वरी सहिता श्रीगुरुपरमेश्वरः सुप्रीतः सुप्रसन्नः वरदो भवतु। ॐ ॐ ऐं ह्रीं श्रीं ऐं क्लीं सौः ॐ नमस्ते पुरसुन्दरी हृदयदेवी शिरोदेवी शिखादेवी कवचदेवी नेत्रदेवी हस्तदेवी कामेश्वरी भगमालिनी नित्यक्लिन्ने भेरुण्डे बह्निवासने महावज्रेश्वरी शिवदूती त्वरिते कुलसुन्दरी नित्ये नीलपताके विजये सर्वमङ्गले ज्वालामालिनी चित्रे महानित्ये परमेश्वर परमेश्वरी मित्रेशमयी षष्ठीशमयी उड्डीशमयी चर्यानाथमयी लोपामुद्रामयी अगस्त्यमयी कालतापनमयी धर्माचार्यमयी मुक्तकेशीश्वरमयी दीपकलानाथमयी विष्णुदेवमयी प्रभाकरदेवमयी तेजोदेवमयी मनोजदेवमयी कल्याणदेवमयी वासुदेवमयी रक्तदेवमयी श्रीरामानन्दमयी अणिमा सिद्धे लहिमा सिद्धे गरिमा सिद्धे महिमा सिद्धे ईशित्व सिद्धे वशित्व सिद्धे प्राकाम्य सिद्धे भक्ति सिद्धे इच्छा सिद्धे प्राप्ति सिद्धे सर्वकाम सिद्धे ब्राह्मी माहेश्वरी कौमारी वैष्णवी वाराही माहेन्द्री चामुण्डे महालक्ष्मी सर्वसंक्षोभिणी सर्वविद्वापिनी सर्वाकर्षणी सर्ववशङ्करी सर्वोन्मादिनी सर्वमहाङ्कुशे सर्वखेचरी सर्वबीजे सर्वयोने सर्वत्रिखण्डे त्रैलोक्यमोहनचक्रस्वामिनी प्रकटयोगिनी कामाकर्षणी बुद्ध्याकर्षणी अहङ्काराकर्षणी शब्दाकर्षणी स्पर्शाकर्षणी रूपाकर्षणी रसाकर्षणी गन्धाकर्षणी चित्ताकर्षणी धैर्याकर्षणी स्मृत्याकर्षणी नामाकर्षणी बीजाकर्षणी आत्माकर्षणी अमृताकर्षणी शरीराकर्षणी सर्वाशा परिपूरक चक्रस्वामिनी गुप्तयोगिनी अनङ्गकुसुमे अनङ्गमेखले अनङ्गमदने अनङ्गमदनातुरे अनङ्गरेखे अनङ्गवेगिनी अनङ्गाङ्कुशे अनङ्गमालिनी सर्वसंक्षोभणचक्रस्वामिनी गुप्ततरयोगिनी सर्वसंक्षोभिणी सर्वविद्राविणी सर्वाकर्षणी सर्वाह्लादिनी सर्वसम्मोहिनी सर्वस्तम्भिनी सर्वजृम्भिणी सर्ववशङ्करी सर्वरञ्जनी सर्वोन्मादिनी सर्वादसाधिके सर्वसम्पत्तिपूर्णे सर्वमन्तमयी सर्वद्वन्द्वक्षयङ्करी सर्वसौभाग्यदायक चक्रस्वामिनी सम्प्रदाययोगिनी सर्वसिद्धिप्रदे सर्वसम्पत्प्रदे सर्वप्रियङ्करी सर्वमङ्गलकारिणी सर्वकामप्रदे सर्वदुःखविमोचने सर्वमृत्युप्रशमने सर्वविघ्ननिवारिणे सर्वाङ्गसुन्दरे सर्वसौभाग्यदायिनी सर्वार्थसाधक चक्रस्वामिनी कुलोत्तीर्णयोगिनी सर्वज्ञे सर्वशक्ते सर्व ऐश्वर्यप्रदायिनी सर्वज्ञानमयी सर्वव्याधिविनाशिनी सर्वाधारस्वरूपे सर्वपापहरे सर्व आनन्दमयी सर्वरक्षास्वरूपिणी सर्वेप्सितफलप्रदे सर्वरक्षाकरचक्रस्वामिनी निगर्भयोगिनी वशनी कामेश्वरी मोदिनी विमले अरुणे जयिनी सर्वेश्वरी कौलिनी सर्वरोगहर चक्रस्वामिनी रहस्ययोगिनी वाणिनी चापिनी पाशिनी अंकुशिनी महाकामेश्वरी महावज्रेश्वरी महाभगमालिनी सर्वसिद्धिप्रद चक्रस्वामिनी अतिरहस्ययोगिनी श्री श्री महाभट्टारिके सर्व आनंदमय चक्रस्वामिनी परापरहस्ययोगिनी त्रिपुरे त्रिपुरेशी त्रिपुरसुंदरी त्रिपुरवासिनी त्रिपुराश्री त्रिपुरमारिणी त्रिपुरासिद्धे त्रिपुराम्बे महात्रिपुरसुंदरी महामहेश्वरी महामहाराज्ञी महामहाशक्ते महामहागुप्ते महामहाज्ञप्ते महामहानन्दे महामहास्कन्धे महामहाशे महामहाशेचक्रसाम्राज्ञी नमस्ते 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 नमः.
So it is a way of honoring all the deities within the Sri Chakra. It is a simple practice which takes less than 10 minutes, something that can be easily incorporated into spiritual life. Swords, Khadga. Khadga means a sword. Yeah, and Mala means a garland. So it's a very strange thing to call it, right? A garland of swords. So we have to think, what could this mean? The Khadga is a sword. What does the Khadga do? It severs the head. So it helps to classify, it separates the mind and the body. So it classifies and, it gives you a deeper intellect. So it focuses on the ways that you can, the Khadga is discrimination. Okay, so you can decide, you classify things, you can decide what is the correct thing, what is not. So that power to understand things is what the Khadga gives you, the sword gives you. So and chanting this is supposed to give you this mythical sword which makes you the emperor. That's what it says in the Dhyana Shloka. It makes you the emperor of 18 worlds. So you are, you have the authority over 18 worlds of existence. That's what it says in the Dhyana Shloka. So that is the power to discriminate and the power to understand.
Say discernment.
Discernment, yes. Yes, thank you. Discernment.
We call this Viveka.
Viveka.
Is the ability to see very
Yes.
clearly.
The word Devi in Sanskrit means one who makes you aware of things. Divyate prakashate anaya iti Devi. By her is lighted up the whole thing. It's not the light that we normally think of, but it is the light which makes the light and darkness also seen. So what is that Jyotisham Jyotihi? And that is only consciousness. You go to sleep, where is this world? The consciousness is not there, the world is not there. So consciousness lights up the whole world, and that is the concept of Devi.
The Divine Mother is the source. The worlds come out of her. exist because of her, and then return back into her. She is the stage upon which the play of the world goes on. She is wisdom, bliss, and consciousness incarnate.
Consciousness is the mother or the womb from which the whole material world appears. The father is transcendent. It can't be seen, it can't be known, it just exists. The mother is the main principle of the manifesting and becoming aware. Is the womb from which the whole thing has come. The Kamakhya, the womb of the universe. Everything has come from that womb. Aham rudre virvasabhischarami ahamadityeruta vishvadehi. I am all the Rudras. I am all the Adityas, the suns. I am all the earth elements. So we see the goddess not only in the human beings, but in rocks, in mountains, in rivers, in trees, in serpents, and in birds. So in all these things we see the manifestation of the transcendent becoming manifest and becoming the goddess. So our goddess is not limited to human figure or anything like that.
What is the sacred feminine, and why have we forgotten her in the world today? We are so disconnected from nature and the cycles of the earth, of the cosmos, of ourselves, of realizing that the cycles outside of us are the same as the cycles within us. In southern India, a very unusual and critically important experiment in consciousness is underway. For the past 38 years, a most remarkable man, Guruji Amritananda, has been building a city dedicated to Devi called Devipuram. This is no ordinary man either, a nuclear physicist who had a spiritual awakening at the age of 47. And his vision? Nothing short of bringing the sacred feminine energy back to life in the minds and hearts of people all over the world. Guruji Amritananda was born Prahlad Shastri in 1934 in the small port city of Vishakhapatnam in southern India. By the age of 5, Guruji was seeing mystical patterns and signs in nature around him. He also had the gift of a photographic memory, allowing him to see and memorize everything he read. At the age of 11, everything changed for Prahlad.
And looking at the sky, and I saw suddenly some large globules coming at me and entering me, coming at me and entering. And I was afraid. And immediately I became unconscious. I think it was my first experience of my samadhi. It was wrongly diagnosed as a physical ailment and treated wrongly.
Following this experience, Prahlad lost all interest in spirituality and became a dedicated student of science at AVA College. He then went on to do his BSc at Andhra University and his master's degree under the tutelage of the legendary nuclear physicist Swami Gyananand. On August 7, 1957, Guruji married Anuparna Gunturu. He was 24 and she was 17.
See, when about 10, 11, she came once to my house and I fell in love with her. But it was strange. I think it is arranged by the goddess that I should marry a person. And love at that age is not normal. It must have been predetermined in some way or the other.
Guruji and Amma had 3 daughters, Anantalakshmi, Radha and Rama, or as Guruji likes to call them, his 3 goddesses. In 1956, Guruji Amritananda was offered a place at the prestigious Tata Research Institute in Bombay. His work was recognized as advanced theoretically. In 1978, Guruji Amritananda had a most unusual and divine experience that would prove to be the turning point in his life.
I got up at 4 o'clock and started walking blindly. And I found some steps going up to the Naubat Pahad in Hyderabad. And I saw the Bala Murti there in front. There's an old man in front of me who prostrated before me. That somehow acted as a trigger for me. And at that time I prostrated without knowing what I was doing. I had a thrill going through my body. Haripulation all over the body, and I was seeing a vision of the Bala Tripa Sundari in my mind's eye. And then I came back and I started thinking, maybe I'm missing out something on ignoring the spiritual aspect. And that was the transformation point.
Guruji began to sit and meditate for the first time in over 35 years.
And after some time, I blanked out. I did not know. I became unconscious. And suddenly there was an explosion. As if a bomb has been placed in my heart, and a huge emanation of light came. I felt bits and pieces of me were being thrown out to the ends of the galaxies. Then she appeared in front of me. I asked her, what's happening to me? She said, I'm giving you an experience, take it. You learn through the experiences. And she said, if you are ever in trouble, think of me and I'll be there for you.
The construct of rationality that Guruji had built his entire scientific life began crumbling away, and step by step, Devi was giving him information and experiences that were beyond space and time, beyond matter and energy, and could only be described as universal consciousness.
So, I needed where to begin and how to go about the imaginations or views, visions she's showing me. Will you build this temple for me, this temple for me, this temple for me? Very, very complicated designs like Angkor Wat and stuff like that. I said, I can't handle that kind of a thing. You show me something simpler. Okay, then she showed me this form of the Sri Chakrameru that is there now. It just seems doable. I say, okay, fine. Then we'll fix on that. I asked her, where do you begin? She said, you conduct a yajna. Conduct a ritual, sacrifice, for 15 days.
Following the yagna, Guruji miraculously received a gift of 3 acres of land. This would one day become Devipuram.
I found this triangular formation of a triangular cut in the rock. This resembled the Kamakhya Yonipeeth. I thought this was a good place to begin with, and I was looking for confirmation. After 4th day or 5th day, I was deep in meditation and I found jingling bells of a girl, anklets moving. A huge ball of light was there, and that condensed into an iridescent form of the goddess surface. And the surface was like, in the Sri Suktam there is Hiranyavarnam Harinam Suvarna Rajasrajam, like thin threads of gold and silver, Suvarna Rajasrajam. It was made out of electric shocks that were going around. That was that form. It was a fabric, and I later on connected with the fabric of the cosmos. She looked like a 16-year-old girl. She was filled with the ornaments. She was like a bridal attire. She said, will you do puja to me? I said, what higher fortune can I have than doing puja to you? Then she did something very unexpected. She bowed down to my feet, and I was surprised. You are going to be a guru, and your people are going to bow down at your feet. I am in all the people. This is the significance of that. She said, looked at the sky, and the clouds formed around that place. And then there was rain. And with the rain, in the rain we walked she took me by hand and walk to the place where this is the place where you got to set up the Meru temple for me. I am the mother and is going to be the child. And the mother Kamakhya here. And this is a child, it will have Rajarajeshwari, Lalita, Mahatrivara Sundari at the center. It will be the form of a Meru with all the Khatgamala deities installed in their places, and everything should receive puja every day. Then she took me back and completed the puja, and she vanished back into the rocks.
Today, Devipuram is the laboratory of consciousness, and people from all over the world are drawn there in their quest to connect to their own divine nature.
Devipuram has the Sri Chakra as its center. There is a temple of Sri Chakra, built exactly in the form of Sri Chakra, showing all the 108 Shakti Pitas in physical form as well as embedded in a geometrical form. This is the first Sri Chakra in the whole world where you can actually walk into and see the forms of the goddess and interacting with them, sit in front of them, meditate on them, do puja to them, do homams in front of them, and do upasana for each of these deities. I see it like a jewel set in a lotus, a jewel in a lotus. We call it Manidvepam. I had a vision of this Manidvepam. The Manidvepam looks like the body of the goddess. From the Shiva hill to the temple, it's all one body. The face, then the breast, and then at the navel this one is there. Just go and be in tune with nature. I want people to come, enjoy spirituality naturally and in nature, in resonance with that, and let their finer instincts come up. That was the vision I had. I am in the business of happiness. If I exist, it's to make everybody happy. That's my purpose of life.